Welcome to Mirahiku Southland in New Zealand's deep south, a province of wilderness, beauty and abundance. This week, for a 68th year, the region plays host to the best road cycling talent from around New Zealand and offshore in the country's longest running and most prestigious road race. Over 100 riders across 18 teams doing battle across 867 kilometres of Southern Highway. Through fertile farmland, majestic fjordland, a defining climb up Queenstown's Remarkables, the iconic Bluff Hill, all leading to a winner being crowned in Invercargill 1 week later. This is the 2024 SBS Bank Tour of Southlands. Friday's stage from Invercargill to Gore has often been a defining one. The rain arrived this year, but the wind did not, taking one potential complication out of play. The pace went on from the start, and it took only 20 minutes of racing for the day's break to form. 16 riders getting out to a lead that pushed out to as much as 7 minutes. But a crash up front and some strong work from the Tour leaders Creation Signs MitoQ New Zealand Cycling Project team kept that margin in check. 3 riders broke free of the leading bunch as the Tour hit Matilda, including PowerNet's Liam Walsh, who made his move on the Broughton Street hill climb to kick clear and take a stage victory. Josh Burnett finished safely in the peloton, maintaining his 1 minute 41 second advantage heading into the final day.
Lots of fatigue coming around. I think the whole bunch is feeling it. It's been a pretty tough tour. No real easy days yet, and today's going to be to prove no different.
Been a massive week. Bit of wind picking up on the stage 2, and then today bit of wind as well. Bit of rain yesterday, so all the conditions hot up Remarkables. So it's been all the weather conditions, classic Southland. So yeah.
I blew it a bit in the crosswind day, so I'll have to try and make up for it today. We've got a tough ride into Invers this afternoon by the look of the wind, so it's still all to play for, and we'll give it a nudge, and if not, happy to tick off another tour, and hopefully we can salvage something out of this TT.
Getting to the end of any tour or a tour like this, 8 days, you're feeling pretty fatigued, but everyone's in the same boat, I guess, and it should be an interesting day with the winds picking up this afternoon and a double day with the TT in the morning, so yeah.
You can be that unlucky rider that ends up with a stiff headwind that you don't get any reprieve with the tail when it drops off, so it's going to be a little bit of luck involved, unfortunately, with a time trial, but you take what cards you're given and just give it your all and hope for the best.
Dunny's done a good job at getting everyone together. 34 sponsors on the kit this year, it's massive thanks to everyone to help out, and it's been awesome.
And how does the racing here compare to back home?
Much harder here. I think half the Aussie field's here as well. So, the conditions really have been playing a big factor actually. Not too much wind and rain back in Australia, but it's a good change, and good to get ready for anything overseas or whatever to come.
It's a bit of headwinds, crosswinds, tailwinds, a bit of everything. Hopefully it doesn't rain, but good.
I'm expecting a pretty tough one. The conditions out there are pretty blustery. I just went for a little lap round now, and it's odd winds that are pushing you all over the place, so it's going to be a bit of pacing. You're going to want a bit in the legs on the way home so you can finish it off strong.
The penultimate stage in this year's SBS Bank Tour of Southland, the McConachie Shearing, a time trial of 13 kilometres on the outskirts of Winton, starting here in the main street and finishing back into the same point here for the 13.2 kilometres. A lot of wind out there on the circuit today, so it could be a little bit of luck in terms of where you're positioned in the order here, whether that wind is going to be of any advantage to you or make life even more difficult, as they predict over 60 k's worth of winds later on in the day. The riders will be hoping very much that this doesn't happen for them as they head around the circuit of the time trial here in Winton. and is Glenn Hayden, one of the favourites here. He's well down on the general classification, but we know he is very much a time trial specialist here. The man riding for the Copeland's Cycling Time Racing team, a man from Wanganui who has finished on the podium for the time trial a number of times, but has never ever managed to take the win for it. He'll be looking to set a very good benchmark here early on in the some 98 riders starting today's stage. So he's well positioned here in the tuck position for the time trial here to ensure he's as aerodynamic as possible. Of course, the riders on the traditional bikes, there's no specialist time trial bikes, so some of them will come out here with the aero helmets. Some of them would have made a few adjustments in terms of the brakes, in terms of the width of even the handlebars in some cases here, to keep themselves well positioned and break through that wind there and secure as best a time as they possibly can. And Glenn Hayden with a 16:05.20 goes to the top of the leaderboard. Now that, based on the history of this particular time trial, of course weather always a big part to play, will be well up there in contention for a podium finish. When we look at it, we see the likes of the Michael Vinks of this world, who's done a 16:31 in the past, a 16:30. So there's some very good times that have been set around that 16-minute mark. As we see Kian Watts here of PowerNet, a stage winner already in this year's tour into Lumsden. And of course he's right up there in the top 10 in the general classification. And he'll be considered a man as a bit of a threat when it comes to this particular time trial. We see his time come through and the time reflects it, 16:13.14 for the man from PowerNet. So that pushes him right up towards the top of the leaderboard. For the man chewing the fingernails, of course, is Glenn Hayden, because he knows the man out there right now, Ben Oliver here in the black and yellow colours for Creation Signs Mitre Q, has taken the stage out last year in 2023 with a time of 15:55. He knows how to put himself in the hurt box here for the race of truth. Riding number one this year, he is looking to try and secure a very good time. And of course, they'll be able to utilise what he does out there to inform his team captain, the man that is leading in the orange jersey, of course, Josh Burnett, as he powers his way through into the main street of Winton once again, 16:06.30. Just off that of Hayden. So Hayden still holding on to the lead as we get down to our last few riders. These are the guys that are right at the top of the leaderboard. It is Sam Jenner from Australia, number 23, the man from the Central Benchmakers Will Bike team. He's had a fantastic week's worth of racing. These guys, their ambition today is not necessarily to take the stage out, but to protect their position on the leaders board. As we said, he's sitting up here in the top 3 of this SBS Bank Tour of Southland. He'll be wanting desperately not to lose any significant time as he makes his way to the finishing line with a 16:40.76. As I suggested, around those 16s would be potentially the winning time, the way in which the wind is blowing through in that final straight before they make their way into Winton. As we see now, our next man onto the road, the second to last rider, off he goes. And now the man in the orange jersey, in the orange skin suit here today is Josh Burnett, lining up. 1 minute distance between each of these riders. You can see Burnett in the far distance there as Wilson comes powering around the corner here. He has had a fantastic week's worth of racing here. He's a very good climber, and we've seen him attack the field time and time again here. So he has a lot of power in those legs, but of course, they have over 800, closer to 900 kilometres under the belt already here for a week's worth of racing. So the fatigue will be starting to show as we look for a time here for the man second on GC, Matthew Wilson, 16:24.28. So he's made a fantastic effort into it there, but it is Hayden still the top of the leaders board as the man in orange. He's got the aerodynamic helmet on. He's got the skin suit on here. He is going all out. Of course, he has won this stage here before Josh Burnett in a 16:42 when he won the title in 2022. He's got one of his teammates just off to the side there, giving him plenty of support, encouragement, as is all of Southland here on this penultimate stage of this SBS Bank Tour of Southland. He doesn't want to lose too much time here on the overall. He's got a decent sort of a gap, but as Josh has said time and time again, every stage counts, and he'll be keen. This is one of the stages he has targeted in this year's tour. As he swings left into the final straight here, he'll make his way towards the finishing line, getting plenty of encouragement from the crowd here, the 2022 champion. As he makes his way to the finishing line, we see the clock come on up for him, and he'll stop it at a 16:08.13. So Glenn Hayden taking out the title here today, the stage of the McConachie Shearing, and you can see the relief on the face of the man who has tried numerous times over the years, and he takes out a well-deserved victory here on the penultimate stage of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. So Josh Burnett, going into the final stage of this year's tour, still holds on to a gap of 1:57 over Matthew Wilson and Sam Jenner at 3:24 to try and set his name in the history books as only the 13th rider to ever win multiple tours.
Here's the stage victor, Glenn Hayden of Southland Racing.
Oh, it's unreal. The years have been ticking by. I'm 41 now, so I didn't think it was going to be possible. So to finally tick it off's been good. I've had a couple of seconds and a couple of thirds before, and to execute today was awesome. You think it might be a parade into Invers, but it's not. It's going to be all on. It's probably going to be one of the toughest hour and a halves of our life. So we'll have to get amongst it and give it heaps.
So 96 of the original 108 starters here are going to roll out of Central Southland's Winton Township on this final stage, 77 kilometres, Doug. Imagine the man in the orange jersey, you've been there coming into a final stage. What would be going through his head? He's got a decent gap over the next challenges, but as we know, everything can change at any stage in this tour.
He'll be just wanting to eliminate any opportunity for a mishap. He'll have drilled his team. They'll have all had a discussion about all the what-ifs and what-have-yous. And if anything does occur, what are we going to do to remedy it on the road? But his main goal, of course, is to get to Gala Street, cross the line. His time gap's such that he's not worrying about any of the GC sort of things. His team will protect him. There's a lot of anxiousness in the peloton as it is. A lot of guys trying to win the last stage. It's always a prestigious thing to have on your record sheet. And of course, the conditions again, the wind's blown up. They'll be really wanting to make sure they're safe. And a lot of these teams will be trying to stay near the front of this group.
This is certainly a stage we've seen over the last few years in which that wind has played absolute havoc with them, the speeds of which they'll pick up along the way. We're predicting around 60 kilometre winds as they get closer in towards the circuits around Queen's Park and Invercargill today. It's not too bad out here at Winton just at this point in time, but as they make their way towards Browns and eventually through Spring Hills, Rackahook, it typically, as locals we well know, Doug, and that wind will pick up and make life very tough for these guys.
Just see that shot there with the riders all swinging off to the right-hand side of the road. And you can see there the Creation Science team with Josh Burnett in the orange jersey sneaking up the side here. Daniel Whitehouse from the QFS team. The big hitters here are straight to the front. Remember, this stage has just started and the Mitre Q boys are straight onto him. Anything that jumps down the road here, this Mitre Q Creation Science team on behalf of Josh Burnett are going to be straight onto it.
I love the attitude of Whitehouse. He has gone out day and day. There he goes again. Catches his breath for a mere second and decides to give it another wee bit of a nudge as no rider really got onto his wheel. So he thought, let's just try it out and see what's going to happen here. But they're starting to settle into their paces here on the edge of Winton. They'll be swinging left shortly here, and that'll make life even harder as the speeds will dramatically increase. And with the fatigue factor in there, a lot of riders will be struggling to hold on.
It's been a very long week. This year's edition of the SBS Bank Tour, I'd have to say, is probably one of the fastest in history, and the pace right from the stage, right on the first day, has been on right from the start. These guys have raced hard, and big ups to them. Hats off to all of the riders here in this year's SBS Bank race. They've put on a show for us for sure.
Controlling things at the front, the Creation Science Mitre Q team there in the yellow and black colours. We also see the TES Deep South team. Of course, they've got a couple of decent sort of sprinters sitting in amongst them. They've got the man in the pink jersey they're trying to protect, and we may well see the likes of Nick Kirkazoo later in the stage.
Yeah, we've only gone 6Ks into this stage, so it's very, very early days, but you can see the big right-hander as you come through towards Centre Bush. This is when things are really going to become quick. The bunch will roll along at a huge pace here, straight into the tailwind section, and Bailey O'Donnell, the home solutions rider here in the Harcourt Sprint Ace jersey, boom, gone. This guy's had such a great race this year. He really come into it with no expectations, but he's got to be happy with his form and his results.
I just can't believe the energy this guy has got. Every single stage we have seen him in the mix. Yes, he is chasing some of the sprint primes along the way, but of course, at the end of the day too, we've seen him attacking as he is here, not so much for the sprint prime, but to take out a stage, to try and get a gap. And it looks like he's going to be joined by one of his foes during the week's racing, and that is Tom Sexton. Those two have been going head to head for a lot of the points on the road.
Has really been a two-horse race between Tom Sexton and Bailey O'Donnell for this jersey, hasn't it? And Tom Sexton is really having a great tour. He's won his first ever stage in the SBS Bank Tour after multiple attempts. These guys will really realise that it's early days, and I think if this rider can get across, it looks like one of the Couplands riders coming across there, Tyrone Shannon from Australia. If these guys can get a bit of a group going, they could be dangerous.
Yes, this gap has opened up very quickly indeed for these three riders. It's still a long way to go, of course. It is only 77 kilometres, but it'll go by very quickly for these riders. And of course, likes of Tom Sexton, he knows these roads extremely well here, and he's hunting out, as you've already mentioned, he's won a stage in the tour. Can he get himself a second one? But tell you what, that peloton are just waiting patiently at the moment, not too concerned, just keeping them in sight, not out of sight, out of mind.
Creation Signs Mitre Q and Josh Burnett will just love this. This is the ultimate setup in the last stage. Let a break go, control the group, control the front of the peloton, revolve round, keep it nice and tidy. And these guys, of course, look like they've come back here. One of the Business South riders there on the front, helping out with the chase, doing a bit of work for Josh Burnett. But Josh Burnett really needs to set up a group down the road, let it go for a bit, get a bit of a gap, and then control the pace like he was. It makes it nice and tidy.
TES Deep South right in the mix there. They're very much protecting their man in the pink jersey and thinking about that potential stage victory. The last stage, of course, in any tour is always one that any rider would love to win there. We expect a big crowd here in Invercargill today with this fantastic weather. That wind is picking up though in the town, and it's going to make life very difficult as they get around that block.
Daniel Whitehouse, the Quality Foods rider, you just can't keep this man off the front. I really do believe this guy needs to come back again next year, the SBS Bank Tour, bring with him some form. He had a bit of bad luck on that day one where he lost all the time, but Daniel Whitehouse has just got stronger and stronger as this race has gone on.
Another one who's done exactly the same would be Zach Walker here, one of the smallest figures out there on the course for the Pista Corsa team. Number 66, picks himself up a few dollars on the road for the Harcourt Sprint Ace, but over the last couple of days, this young man has been to the fore.
Here we are now through Spring Hills. This is the lumpy bumpy bit up the Grove Bush climb as you head through, and this is where the crosswinds are really going to tell. You can see there the orange jersey wearer Josh Burnett not too far from the front, but you can see here Bailey O'Donnell is just on a mission here today to try and split this group up. Josh Burnett is really going to have to make sure he's at the front. You can see the echelon starting to form here. It starts to really pick up in the wind stakes out around this part of Southland.
There is a lot of riders who have missed the split in the wind. You've got to stay awake right to the very end if you want to make an opportunity available to yourself to try and take out a stage. And we can see the colours of a lot of teams in here, Doug. QFS was one of those, Business South. These riders are now in desperate situations. As you can see on the front, the tour leader himself is helping drive the peloton and try to reduce it as they make their way towards Rackerhook.
That's correct, Julian. The reduction in numbers at the front would suit a rider such as Josh in the tour leader's jersey. Just wants to keep himself nice and clean. But further back here, you can see it's just total carnage. That is really hurting some of these guys. There's big gaps opening up. There's riders dropping wheels. And this is just a textbook crosswind section in a bike race.
And the second to last man there in the red and black checkered colours, the QFS rider, Graham Frisley of Australia. This is a well-performed rider at the top levels of cycling, both on the road and track. He has missed the break and is now hoping desperately that this group will make the junction towards the front.
It really is the sign of an experienced bike rider such as Graham Frisley, who is not panicking. It's very easy to look up the line and go, oh my goodness, I'm getting dropped here, and panic. But you can see here his team, the QFS team, are right at the front of the second echelon, and they'll be desperately trying to bridge that gap across for him, perhaps with eyes on the further stage. But this is really brutal. Cross here is super crosswind. There's only so much room on the inside of this road, and these riders will be really hoping for a tailwind section before the Rackerhook climb. Hopefully brings it all back together for them.
Hope is the key word here as they try to get themselves across. They're hoping, all right, that front group will ease off the pace, but at this point in time, it looks like that is the opposite of which this bunch out in front is wanting to do.
44 kilometres travelled so far in a stage of 77, and the riders here are going straight into a blockhead wind. The weather forecast on the weather graphic at the start was gusts of up to 74 kilometres an hour. They are really hitting it here, and this is tough going.
They've gone straight into the guts of this headwind. The brakes have gone on for all concerned here, and I guess for a few of them, they'll be fairly well relieved for that very fact, because they can catch their breath. For these guys here, though, including Frizzly by the looks of it here, on your bike, as well as a number of other team members from across the tour, are scrambling across and have lived in hope all the way along the Lawnville-Dacre Highway, and their prayers have come.
We talked about that in the crosswind, didn't we? And these guys have just utilised the convoy, utilised the headwind section, and will be counting their lucky stars that this course doesn't turn left too soon and they may get dropped again.
So the riders now approaching the outskirts of Invercargill along Queen's Drive, always fast and furious along there, but these winds today have sucked out a lot of energy out of these riders as one of the TES Deep South riders decides to pick up the pace, and he's got the man that they're defending in the pink jersey, and we can see also Josh Burnett in the orange jersey. So a lot of the big hitters very much putting themselves in the safe zone at the very front of the peloton.
The road surface becomes super smooth along here as well, so the speed ramps up. You've got a bit of a rise going up before you get onto Queen's Park, which often is a bit of an opportunity for people to attack, but the speed here just increases dramatically from the rough roads that we've been out around the back of Morris Bush and further around towards the Rackhook. This is going to become a real sprint battle here, I think, and Josh Burnett, you've got to hand it to him. His team have looked after him, but he has positioned himself beautifully in this last stage.
It was a lot of the big hitters at the very front of the race, as we see the rest of the peloton being stretched well and truly out as they make their way along the back of the circuit. They have a total of 4 laps as they make their way around Queen's Park here, and it is Ben Oliver with the Creation Signs team who rolls through with his team leader in the orange jersey in second spot. You can see Jenna hovering around there, Wilson as well. The top 3 are keeping a very close eye on each other here today, Doug.
Once again, it's Bailey O'Donnell, Home Solutions Sprint Ace rider. This guy is just thirsty for the front. It's always interesting when you see these guys go off the front and you look further back in the peloton to see the positioning and posturing and the guys trying to come forward. There is a huge scrap going on here trying to get to the front of this bike race, and it is going to be a very, very quick couple of laps around Queen's Park for a lot of these riders.
I think there's a lot of riders here now in survival mode as they make their way around Queen's Park up towards Calvin Street here. Of course, it was a week ago they were around here with the team time trial, back here for the traditional finish into Gala Street, as we now see that Bailey O'Donnell has Tom Sexton joining him. These two are just about joined at the hip all week long here, Doug. They've been picking up the points for the sprint ace, but also desperately trying to get themselves a stage victory.
Desperate would be one way to describe it, Julian. Tommy Sexton here is really putting down some watts coming down Calvin Street. You can see him right in the left-hand gutter. He wants to get rid of Bailey O'Donnell. He's not keen to carry this man around Queen's Park with him and have him sprint him. And Tommy Sexton from the Macaulay Ford Good Tech team has just gapped Bailey O'Donnell. That is dramatic.
Sexton, of course, one of the top place getters this morning when it came to the team time trial. He's used to time trialing. He's part of the national team's pursuit squad, competed in the Olympic Games as part of that there. So this is something he's quite used to, going off the front, settling into time trial mode and opening a decent sort of a gap and finding that rhythm, which is going to still be difficult with those strong winds.
Tom Sexton leading the charge, final lap, bell lap to go. He's in no man's land. The desperation on Tom Sexton's face is just dramatic. He realises he's committed here. There's no other plan B here for Tom Sexton. He has a quick look, but behind him, the Transport Engineering Southland Deep South team, they've got the train on the front. These guys are really trying hard to reel him in.
Kane Richards of Australia has been given the job to be the motorbike on the front to try and shut down that gap to Tom Sexton, who continues to power into it. You can see a few other teams scrambling their way towards the front. We could see the pink jersey up there, but Sexton flying down Queen's Drive. He'll be starting to think, I could potentially take this as we look to the space behind. It is not much. It's probably hovering around 10 to 11 seconds here as Sexton continues to chew on the handlebars, give it absolute death. The legs must be screaming with pain. Payne.
Oh, he is deep into the hurt box. He has another look around. Notice he's riding on the inside of the road, so he's not prominent, so the riders aren't giving him a target and trying to chase him across. But you can see here behind, this chase is really starting to get very, very energetic. The Japanese endurance team, they're setting one of their riders up as well. So Tommy Sexton's got a lot of work ahead of him to stay away from a concerted chase, but can he do it?
Latitude Cycling also up in the mix there. We saw the QFS team and of course the Creation Signs all starting to lick their lips. Can they do it? But they could hesitate for one moment, and that could be enough to allow this man to take out his second stage in this year's tour as he heads down past Southland Boys High School. Of course, they were out in support the other day, but today it is all potentially going to be about Sexton. Or is it, as the Japanese squad here go on to the front? They've been getting stronger each day in this tour, and could they take out their first victory today?
Yes, that's Hashimoto from the Japanese squad there. He has got the boys lined up single file. Some serious work going on at the front here. It's going to be a tough job for any of these other teams to get further up and get into the train of these Japanese guys. They're well drilled. Meanwhile, the Tommy Sexton attack is still away. These guys have still got to chase him down, and all of the sprint work in the world will be of no avail if Tom Sexton stays away.
Oh, the pain on the face of the local man as he came round into Calvin Street shows you the effort that is being put in by this man. His heart rate will be absolutely screaming. He has another look over the shoulders. He's starting to pedal squares. As they would say, he's going up and down like a duck in muddy water. Tom Sexton, can he hold off the fast finishing PowerNet team who have hit onto the front?
PowerNet at the front. Tommy Sexton looks like he's going to be caught. I think he's conceded there. He moves over to stay out of the way. PowerNet here are really pouring on the pace. And then Trezise from the Transport Engineering South and Deep South. He is desperately trying to get Nick Kurgazoo up into position, the sprint team, sprint position for Nick Kurgazoo. He is the man they're trying to get to win this stage. Trezise comes into the last corner and it's all on.
We're down to the last 300 metres and it is a very fast one as they pick up the speed at 70k an hour, and Trezise in the pink colours is leading out his teammate there. The Japanese rider starts to make a move, but here comes Frizzley. Frizzley out of nowhere, the man that just about got dropped in the entire field. He puts his hands up in the air and takes out a fantastic stage for QFS and a fast and furious finish. Ben Oliver up there in the top three as well, but Frizzley, the Commonwealth Games representative, takes out a fantastic stage here on the final day of this SBS Bank Tour of Southland.
Fantastic scenes there. Josh Burnett, the relief on him will be immense. There he has been congratulated by one of his teammates and one of the other Latitude squad members. Well done, Josh Burnett. A fantastic win.
Josh Burnett, the 2022 champion, now adds his name to the history books in 2024 to be one of only 13 riders to have ever won multiple tours in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Bailey O'Donnell once again went off the front throughout the day and holds on to the Harcourt Sprint Ace with 85 points. Josh Burnett also adds to his collection of jerseys the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains on 37 points. Australian Declan Trezise in his second ever SBS Bank Tour of Southland takes out the Henderson Construction under 23. A local man, Luke McPherson, holds on to the Geraldine Cheese Company's silver jersey for the over 35s from Glen Hayden. After nearly stealing the march on the field, it is Tom Sexton who is awarded the Macleay Jewelers Most Combative. The team from PowerNet complete a fantastic week's tour racing to take out the Wednesday Cycles team classification from Creation Signs Mitre Q.
Continue going wild for you as you're doing that. The crowd will go wild for you there. Come on, folks, it's the first South. Would you put your hands together for Declan Trezise, Transport of Wednesday Cycles team classification winners, PowerNet.
I'm so grateful for all the support. I think everyone out here in Queen's Park and all the signs and everything, I think a lot more riders are watching me, so I had to be more selective with when I went and what I did. But yeah, it's such a strong team and it's a bit, hard to say how grateful I am because you don't want to like overdo it and say it to them too much, but I definitely, owe all of us to them.
Come on, folks, make some noise here for our top three. And Josh Burnett, the 2024 champion, the SBS Bank Tour of Southlands.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at tourofsouthland.com.